Hello, everybody. This is Brian Sullivan. We're back with another edition of Nassau COBA Monthly. This is the February edition of our monthly podcast. I'm here with John Hogan. Say hello, John.
Morning, everyone.
We're also going to have Brian Doyle on in a little bit. We're going to be updating things on some grievances and things like that. But we're going to break this up, hopefully, into 3 different segments like we normally do. So I'm just going to get right into it. We're doing this podcast a couple of days after our recent debacle of a general membership meeting that happened the other night. Ever since the beginning of the COVID pandemic, we have been using Zoom virtual meetings without a hitch for months and months and months. You know, Fortune 500 companies use Zoom, other unions, other Nassau County unions, people across the country are using these Zoom meetings. We've done arbitrations. We've done monthly board meetings of the union. We did our November general membership meeting. Everything's gone off without a hitch. For those of you who were on the general membership meeting this couple of days ago, again, I want to apologize to all of the members that were at home and had their families near and stuff like that, because what went on there was a complete disaster. We were infiltrated, for lack of a better word, by someone that we don't know as of yet. I'm doing a bunch of investigation. I have a couple of different agencies that I'm trying to help me find out the origin of who this was. Whether it was something that was homegrown here, I don't know, or somebody that infiltrated from outside. We were certainly not going to go on talking about the intricacies of our union business while somebody was on there with pornographic material and racist and what do you call it, curse words and things like that. It was absolutely absurd to have that going on, and we're not going to go forward with that. We're still under these COVID restrictions, so we can't meet with everybody in a room. So the way it's looking right now, at least until I have a clearer picture of who this might have been that created this havoc, we may not have another in-person general membership meeting until June, which is the next one, because we can't get everybody together. But I'm going to find out, come hell or high water, where this came from, because when we're going forward, this thing is, we can't allow people to come into our nest like that while we're trying to do. I don't know who would want to infiltrate the Nassau COBA union meeting, but unless it was something nefarious going on within the county itself. But it's not like we're talking about the stock market or something here, and there's people just want to come in and create havoc, or some government agency. But going forward, we're gonna do our best to find out what it is, and we're gonna knock it out. Moving forward with the first section of this podcast, I just want to recognize, I'm going to go over basically what I would have gone over in the general membership meeting the other night. That's why I'm going to have Brian Doyle talking about some of the stuff that's going on with grievances. Maybe John can touch on some of the in a little while on the health and safety stuff, yeah, with some of the roofs and stuff, especially teeing off on one of a win that we just had regarding health and safety for roofs that Doyle's going to talk about. I also want to recognize a couple of things that I normally start off our meetings with. It was the recent deaths since the last general membership meeting of retired Officer Greg Pryor and Eric Contreras. Eric Contreras was a correction officer here a long time ago, back close to when I first started, when his brother Chris started. He left us and went over to become a detective in the Nassau County Police Department, and he died of 9/11 related cancer. And it was sorry to see him go. I've known these guys for years, and it's just, you hate seeing people go like that. We also had, there was a national story about a Indiana Correction Lieutenant Eugene Lasco, who was stabbed to death by an inmate. He was responding to help a correction officer, and he ended up dying of his injuries, which is disgusting. Lastly, along those lines, is retired Correction Sergeant here, Kevin Knuckle. Kevin Knuckle is currently on hospice care at home. He had a pretty aggressive form of cancer that spread all through him. Unfortunately, Kevin's only, I believe, 59 years old. He retired a few years ago, and it's not looking good for Kevin. So if everybody could keep him in your prayers, that would be a good thing. One thing I could talk about here is that we're finally starting to come out of the second wave of COVID that's gone on here. Going back to when the second wave really hit us hard was November 5th. Overall, since the beginning of the COVID pandemic, we had 272 correction officers test positive for COVID. 167 of those are just since November 5th. Currently, we have 3 correction officers out and 9 were hospitalized. So that's over the course of the beginning since March. 9 were hospitalized. Thank God everybody came back. We didn't lose anybody. I've said in previous incarnations and in previous meetings that city corrections lost several people. The transit authority in the city lost about 40 or 50 people to COVID, and thank God, knock on wood, we didn't lose anybody here, and everybody that was hospitalized ended up coming back. But like I said, the numbers are coming down. The vaccinations are up. We've had just about half of our department has taken the vaccines and received the second vaccines. And I certainly, this is a personal choice that everybody has to make. If you want to take that, we had, like I said, the 272, maybe a lot of those people who tested positive for COVID didn't want to get the vaccine for whatever reason, or if your belief system is different. I'm certainly not going to question that. But I got it, everybody on the board got it, and if you're on the fence about it, I would recommend it because it certainly beats the alternative of getting this friggin' disease and dying from it. I'm actually going to swing around a little bit just to change the subject too. There was a recent thing where a bunch of our correction officers that are volunteers in the volunteer fire department did a great thing about a week ago. About 1:30 on a Sunday morning, there was a fire in Lynbrook. And I just wanted to give out some props to a couple of our guys, Correction Officer Scott Bean, Correction Corporal John Donald, and former Correction Officer James DeGiambattista, who left to become a Nassau County cop. They were all Lynbrook firemen. They responded to a house fire, and they found an elderly man in the basement that was trapped and rescued him out of the house. They did CPR, brought the guy out, and the medical people brought the guy basically back to life, and he was brought to the NUMC Burn Center. And thankfully that guy lived because of the actions, not just because of them as their fire department, but I want to recognize them because of their attachment to us. We're going to take a break for a minute. We come back, we'll talk about the COVID comp time arbitration, and then Brian Doyle is going to give us an update on grievances, and I'll go through, Hogan will give us an update on the health and safety, and I'll go through the rest of my quick agenda, and that's going to be what we're talking about for February. So we're going to take a break now. Brian Sullivan, Nassau COBA Monthly. Okay, welcome back to Nassau COBA Monthly. This is Brian Sullivan for the February edition of Nassau COBA Monthly. I'm here with John Hogan and Brian Doyle. The third vice president just walked into the room. Say hello, Brian Doyle.
Hi, Brian Doyle.
I just want to start off this second segment with something that's obviously been going on here for a while, is this COVID comp time thing. Once the emergency was declared in Nassau County, obviously it's been a big issue going on all around the county about who's getting it, is anybody getting it, how many hours they owe us. This is, it's kind of like a hazard duty type of thing. We just got the arbitrator's decision back this past week, and the arbitrator ruled against us in this. I just want to read to everybody, and this is what I started to do with the general membership meeting the other night before we were short-circuited. I just want to read you, in essence, what it goes along with the email I sent out to everybody. In essence, what the arbitrator ruled in this decision. If you get a chance, look in the contract. It's section 38-14. I'm not going to read through all of the contract section again, but in his decision, the arbitrator ruled, in summary, that this clause was not triggered because the county executive did not direct people to leave work. In fact, instead of directing people to leave work, she deemed COBA members and several other designations of county workers as essential employees. And as such, you must report to work, particularly during extraordinary circumstances such as the pandemic. He also ruled that even though the department did direct some employees to stay home, this was not as a result of the county executive determining who should work and not work, but was directed due to federal, state, and local health department and CDC guidelines that they not work in order to control the pandemic. The arbitrator also ruled that the union would have firm standing to pursue legal action against the county if the county executive or their designated representative actually directed employees to report to work sick against CDC and health department guidelines because they're essential. Also, that the county executive was required to send people home because their personal physicians told the county and the department that they are or may be infectious with COVID-19 and could spread the disease. Lastly, he ruled that the county executive's discretion in the administration of this section of the contract, as written in section 38-14.6, shall not be reviewable. This is something that we talked about several times in the past, was one of the hurdles that we were going to have to get past in this arbitration and in this grievance, because it says in there the county executive will have sole discretion over this, and their discretion shall not be reviewable. And as such, the union, cannot challenge the discretion in this particular case. While this has obviously been a hot button topic and it's obviously a disappointing ruling, we do realize there were hurdles to get past in our argument. We've conferred with our attorneys at length, and we're currently exploring a lot of our legal options to fight this case further. We have, one of the first questions that comes up is, what is our time frames? What's this? What's that? We have 90 days from the date of the issuance of this dispute, this ruling, to dispute the arbitrator's ruling in Supreme Court. And I can tell you this is most likely the ruling that we're going to go down, the road we're going to go down. Pretty much everything that the county wins on our part, or any arbitrations, they stall, they drag us out to court. We win cases, they take us, they dispute arbitrators' rulings and things like that. So there is no harm in us trying to dispute the arbitrator's ruling in this. Who knows, maybe you'll get a sympathetic judge. Maybe you'll have something happen in the meantime where the county will try to make some sort of a deal, even though that's probably very low on the totem pole now, since we have a losing arbitration case, and our arbitration cases are binding. But there's certainly no harm in using what's available to us to try and see if we can get a sympathetic judge down the road to tweak the language in this. That's pretty much the route that we're going to go down. We're not just going to let this die. It's a hot button topic with our members, and we're going to try everything at our disposal to try and see if we can overturn this arbitrator's decision. Where we're going to end up, I don't know. I would assume sometime in the next week or two that we're gonna file to have this thing overturned. Once we do that, I'll send out an email to everybody concerned, and we'll take it from there. Moving on to other cases, I'm going to kick it over to Brian Doyle to give everybody an update on where we stand with other arbitrations and grievances. So take it over, Brian.
Okay, just give a little update on some cases, some hot button cases that we've both filed, had hearings, and received decisions on. At the end of last year, in October of 2020, the department cut the desk lieutenant position. We've promptly filed a grievance. We had a couple of hearings. The last hearing on that particular case was in December 4th of 2020. There we put on testimony. We argued that we have a MOU that establishes the position of desk lieutenant along with the positions of captains and security, in addition to the torque commanders on either side. We received a decision a couple of weeks ago where the arbitrator sustained our grievance, and that position has since been restored, and the desk lieutenants have been working there ever since. Again, we just this past week we received a decision on the 832 roof leak health and safety grievance. There, the arbitrator ruled that the county must furnish us some information by March 22nd of 2021 regarding their plan to fix that, and in the meantime that they are required to mitigate the slip and fall hazards due to the leaks. And the arbitrator in that case is retaining jurisdiction, so it gives us an avenue in which to push, because our grievance was sustained. We have some ammunition with pushing this issue forward, and the county has to turn over to us by March 22nd their plan going forward, and it's a good thing that gives us the vehicle which we need to actually get this project done. You know, this has been going on way too long, and the arbitrator saw that, and the county actually testified that that building's been leaking ever since it opened 30 years ago, which is absolutely absurd. In January 2021, we filed a grievance regarding the Aetna AOMC contributions for those COBA members hired after 2014. We proposed that for a grievance, and that's due, for arbitration date, that's due to be heard on March 24th. Also in January of this year, we received a grievance on a relatively older grievance that was filed regarding the denial of fire days for standby duty for volunteer firemen. Years ago, then Sheriff Sposato put out a blanket sheriff's order regarding the denial that fire days would no longer be approved for standby duty. The contract does not read that way. He basically said in his memo that fire days would only be approved for actually engaging in emergency missions. The contract is not limited to that. It has a provision, again, I'm paraphrasing, it goes on to say that fire days could be used for other support missions in order to protect the community, something of those words. The arbitrator found, in fact, that his order violated the contract and again restored the department's discretion to approve or deny fire days on a case-by-case basis, not by a blanket sheriff's order. So Sposato's sheriff's order has since been rescinded, and that provision remains intact. So another grievance that we won. On February 17th, we were due to have an arbitration regarding the seniority rights of those that were assigned to the CERT team. There were about 20 COBA members that were passed over for the CERT team. That is a strict seniority provision, although it does require that those selected are able to pass the prerequisites for the CERT. So your seniority rights have to be kept intact. You must be selected via strict seniority, but you still have to pass the training and the shooting qualifications and things of that nature. So the county has agreed. Last week they agreed to, within 1 year, that they will assign those 20 people, and each of those people have been notified. So within a year they'll be assigned to that CERT team. Just some upcoming dates. I may be repeating some things, but on March 8th we have a discipline case coming up. Again, March 24th we have the AOMC contribution case. On March 31st we have a grievance based on the fact that they have no 207C hearing officer, which was required by the contract. On April 6th, we have an arbitration on the memorial monument. We have an MOA where the county has agreed to pay for the memorial monument. On April 13th, we have another discipline case. And on April 15th, we have a class action grievance arbitration for the department charging sick time for those COBA members that are out 207C and were unable to fulfill their end of a mutual exchange. They were charging them sick time. Just to give an update on longevity case, our papers are submitted in appellate court as to whether to proceed to arbitration on longevity case. The PBA and the DAI both have received decisions in that appellate court that they can proceed to arbitration. Our case is very, very similar, if not identical, and we propose to those judges that we should be treated the same, and we're awaiting a decision on that. If many of you remember, a couple of years ago, we filed a case regarding the late payment of overtime, FLSA violation. The other day, we got a status update on that, and they are due to proceed to mediation with the county on April 16th on that case. And unlikely anything will happen in that mediation. It looks like they'll be proceeding to a schedule of proceedings in early May, which should take the better part of 3 to 6 months, and we'll update you as we have more information on that. That's all I have for now.
I think getting towards the end of the summer is where the attorneys think we should have some resolution to that case, maybe August, September, get a final resolution to that, and hopefully we'll get something positive for our members out of that. All right, thank you, Brian. I appreciate that very much. And John, if you want to just, I know you had an issue with when it comes to the the roof leaks and all of that. We did, as Brian said, we won that arbitration. The arbitrator sustained our grievance in that, which is a good step in that direction, because now the arbitrator holds jurisdiction going forward about everything that's done. So I know I believe you had a conversation, if you want to just weigh in on that.
I spoke with Pete Capel, and we're going to have the county is, are going to have a contractor come in on Tuesday, and he's going to survey the roof. It will probably be the 9th contractor coming in, but
Right.
this guy has money. Money was encumbered. He's going to survey the area. Hopefully we don't get snow or anything,
Right.
so they can actually look and really poke and prod into what are some of the major problems, and he'll be able to start. We'll know sometime after that when he can start work on the roof project.
And we have to have the whole thing given to us by March 22nd, as per the arbitrator's ruling. So we got to hold everybody's feet to the fire in this.
And that we'll definitely do that.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it there for the second section of this Nassau COBA Monthly February 2021 edition. I'm going to be back in a couple of minutes right after this, so I could give you. I know it might be a little dry, but I want to update you on a few things that I was hoping to bring up at the general membership meeting, and I'll run through them at the end, including an update on the state pension fund and things like that. So, again, Brian Sullivan, Nassau COBA Monthly February 2021 edition, and we'll be back right after this. Thank you. Okay, we're back. Brian Sullivan, John Hogan, Nassau COBA Monthly, February 2021 edition. I appreciate it back. John, you said you just wanted to add something onto that last segment?
I had one question, and I just want to be clear about this. In the 5 unions, nobody is getting this comp time, correct?
Out of
The COVID comp time?
Out of the 5 unions in Nassau County, this clause in the contract only pertains to 2 of them. The 3 police unions, the PBA, SOA, and DAI, do not have this clause at all in their contract about getting hour-for-hour comp time and things like that. It only pertains to us and CSEA, and the language is exactly the same in both of our contracts. It was leftover CSEA language in our contract from when we broke away in 1999, and we were the first that went to arbitration, and we got our decision. CSEA is also in arbitration because the county has refused to pay them. I know a lot of people have said that, I have a brother who has a sister who has a friend who has a neighbor who's a 9/11 operator, and they're getting it. That's 100% false. They may be tracking it, and I've said this 1,000 times before, they're tracking it, but they're not getting it. They're not able to use it. CSEA is also in arbitration about this same exact issue, and their date is somewhere down the future. I don't know exactly what their date is. I'm not anticipating after talking with them that they're going to get much of a different or any different of a result in their arbitration. So if anybody's telling you that somebody has it, they're using it, they're cashing it in, they're doing whatever else, it's 100% falsehood, and it only pertains to us and CSEA, not the police. So I hope that answers any questions on that.
Thanks. I talked to guys the other day about that, and I got that same question. My friend's brother's sister is a 9/11 operator, and
Right.
she got it.
But that's
So,
that's all the rumor mill.
that's
So
all cleaned
that's
up.
the stuff that we have to do. All right, going through for the rest of this segment of the podcast, I just want to update people on a lot of stuff that's been going on around here, and just bear with me because there's a bunch of information to go through, and just so we're all on the same page. We hired a new recruit class on January 15th. They're in the academy right now. There was 25, I believe on the day of, 24 showed up, and then one of them quit a couple of weeks into it, so we're down to 23 people in the academy. It's my understanding from talking to the county, Mineola, the department, and civil service that another class of 25 is scheduled to be hired right behind this after they graduate, and then hopefully another class of 25 behind them. I know sometimes when you talk about hiring here, people talk about, what's it going to do to the overtime? What's it going to do to this? Are we going to create posts? Are we going to lose posts? Are we going to do whatever else? We have to remember that the 65 people retired here last year, and they were not backed up. Nobody was replaced here. They were supposed to hire 40 this coming July of 2021. Can you imagine if we didn't hire anybody until this coming July of 2021? What a disaster this place would be staffing-wise. It's a disaster enough as it is now. with over the holidays, triple shifts, and some guys getting stuck for triple or more shifts. It's not a sustainable thing that we can talk about. I had conversations with Laura Curran and the county just the other day about this, about how the lack of promotions here over the last 3 years, the lack of hiring, the lack of attention in general to this place, and we've seen promotions in the PD. It can't be allowed to go on, and the county knows full well that we are adamant about making sure that we fill breaks in the chain of command here, and put people where they're supposed to be, so we don't have people working doubles and triples and supervising inmates from an officer's level, supervising staff from a supervisor's level, and that's where things go off the rails here. So we can't allow that to happen. About 2 weeks ago, we got the new Tech 84s arrived, the body scanners. They were brought in. They were approved by a physicist in NUMC for the radiation levels. Any radiation that's emitted by these things is extremely below any level of danger. That's part of the allure of buying these things. Everything should be up and running in March. I just spoke to the sheriff yesterday about training that's going to be provided for this. I'm actually going to have some of our guys on the board here get involved in that training also, so we know exactly what's going on, that everybody's on the same page. Once people have been trained here, officers have been trained, they then have the ability to train other people in how to use it. So we're gonna widen out the swath of people being trained in how to use these new things. The sheriff also told me that these things are being bought by, I know they're being bought by asset forfeiture money, dog money. They ordered 2 more, so hopefully within the next several months, 2 more of these body scanners are going to come in. They're not just metal detectors. They can detect contraband and weapons and body cavities and things like that. This is certainly something, especially on the heels of the Newsday contraband story that came out a few weeks ago, about 240-something drug seizures in this jail over the last couple of years. It's not sustainable here to have the level of contraband coming in here no matter what we do to stop it. The Muffin Monster issue, the sewage problem in the 832 building, they finally got all the Muffin Monsters replaced. And yes, the Muffin Monster is actually the name of the piece itself. It's not a nickname. All of the Muffin Monsters have been put in the 832 building. They have about 4 extras with this purchase. We were very successful in forcing, from the union standpoint, the legislature to purchase all these things, so we have active and up and running housing areas in the jail, so we're not ever all squashed into one area. Questions came up regarding how the moves were done back to the 832 building after the Muffin Monsters went in. Dr. Hennig here, who is the jail physician, following CDC guidelines, directed that inmates are better served under the pandemic to be behind doors and glass instead of in open bars, cells where the pandemic and the germ can spread. So I had a big problem with the county. I've spoken to the county executive's office about how stupidly this was done, that they just decided to get up everybody and run them back over to the 832 building. We ended up having a spike in COVID cases here, not only from staff but the inmates also. And we're still investigating doing a class action grievance on this, exactly what the remedy would be, because there's no financial or any monetary compensation from this, aside from telling them not to do it again. But we have to make sure that we're smarter, down the road, making sure that the medical department isn't running the security aspect of the jail, while you have to follow federal, state, and local guidelines and CDC guidelines, health department guidelines. We can't put our people in danger, because when we start talking about spikes in these cases, that's when people get sick, and God forbid anybody gets really sick or dies here. We just can't allow that to go on just out of knee-jerk reactions, adhering to certain government regulations. The Motorola radio system issue has been much better here since the new microwave was installed in NUMC. John, you want to just talk quick about, we had some of those Motorola Zoom meetings where we didn't get infiltrated with the PD and did some walkarounds with Motorola?
Captain Fratto, myself, and 2 techs from Motorola walked the facility, both buildings, and also the hospital. And we pretty much stopped on every other floor in the hospital. And they were checking strength of signal. They got great readings everywhere we went. It also helped out that the hospital also went to Motorola. And when we came back to our facility, we went down to communications, and they ran a bunch of diagnostic checks, which seemed to help out. They did a couple of things, I don't know technical, but they did a couple of things later on that week, and ever since that walk around, the radios, they're not perfect, but they're getting better on a daily
A
basis.
lot better than the
A
spotty
lot better than what
outages.
they were.
The outages we were having and the system was going down, and that, like I said, ever since that microwave went up, it really resolved a lot of the problems.
Captain Frattle's on top of it. It's the start of his day every day, and he ever since he took over, it's turned the
been all
corner
over it.
well.
Good.
Really
Good.
has.
That's good to hear. Along those same lines, we've had issues with computer issues and projects that are coming out, special projects, computer operations, things like that. We have a problem at the control desk with hand scanners, and this all goes back where I've had an issue with the department and with the county rolling out some of these projects before they're ready to go online. And I think there's a disconnect between getting them out and who's actually going to be the ones that get them up and running. A perfect example is this computer stuff where we're just going to be rolling out computer programs where the program itself is fine, but we're rolling it out onto older hardware systems and older computers that don't recognize or don't have a good interface with these new programs. It would be great if we rolled these things out and they went right up and we jump into the 1990s technologically with a lot of the stuff that goes on here. But if you have hardware that doesn't support the programs you're putting out, then we have issues with like the incident sheet and hand scanners and the computer system itself, which we know was 10 years old, that replaced the JCON system. We can't have a computer system that still potentially has the ability of having erroneous discharges of inmates unless you go back and check 17 pages of backup. It's just when that's a new system and the old system was better in the way it does it. So these are ongoing issues with us every day with the department and the county about our IT problems here and how things are rolled out, how they're rolled out, many times prematurely just to try and get them up and running. But in a security environment like this where safety and security and making sure that there's issues with inmates and we can't just roll things out kind of willy-nilly. They got to be done beforehand. We have, there's a couple of other issues. I'm going to kind of go back. I'm going to skip around here a little bit. Recently, obviously, everybody knows that we had a couple of assaults on staff. We had two of our members assaulted by several inmates in the 832 building back in, I believe that was July. I'm happy to say that 4 inmates that were involved in that were just indicted a day before yesterday. All on assault charges on correction officers, so that's a positive going forward. It's something that we always keep tabs on to make sure that these inmates don't think it's a freebie to be assaulting correction officers in our facility. They can't just run charges concurrently, things like that. We had another one of our officers was assaulted on B3. It took a little while to get all the paperwork packages in, but they finally got everything in. Then the DA's office charged that inmate with assault on an officer. To my knowledge, it's awaiting proceedings. He hasn't been indicted on that charge yet, but it's it's coming. So sometimes justice runs slow. We all know the justice system has been under siege and changing here over the last couple of years, particularly the last year with bail reform and everything else. But we have to keep on top of this stuff. We just can't let ourselves be pincushions for inmates in here and nothing happens. Civil service test scheduling. We just had the sergeant corporal's test was given not too long ago, and hopefully that's going to be done in an expedited fashion to get it up and running. The lieutenants and the captains test was supposed to be done about a year and a half ago. They screwed up and didn't get it done in time, and it was supposed to be done this past February or March, and COVID put a halt on that. So currently this department doesn't have a lieutenant's or a captain's list active. The test now is supposed to be done about a month from now on March 20th, and I'm hopeful that'll be done in an expedited fashion, because if we have retirements and things like that, we may start having breaks in the chain of command again with lieutenants and captains not being available, and that's not a good thing because you fill in the blanks. Retirement incentives, they're talking about it in the state. A lot of that is still completely dependent on whether or not the federal government gives us a COVID bailout plan. And the issue with that is even if they do give us a COVID bailout plan, the money's going to be given to the states for how they dole it out to the counties, from all indications. It doesn't look like they're going to get any more in-depth from the federal government. They're going to give it to the states and say, you divvy it up. Now, you can be certain the state is not going to bail out Nassau County from all of its fiscal woes. They're going to get a COVID bailout package and what do you call it? And we're going to get rid of NYFA and all the problems are going to be done. They're basically going to try and get the county back up on its feet to its fiscal problems of before COVID. So we'll see where that goes. Several things of COBA alerts that I've sent out over the last couple of months. 9/11 claims for anybody who has contracted any kind of a cancer or a death or anything like that. Claims have been extended for previous cancers and things like that to July of 2021. So if anybody knows of anybody that passed away from cancer or got a cancer several years ago where they thought they were timed out and putting in a claim, make sure they know that that's been extended to July 2021. We started getting several questions and answers about taking the vaccine, having our members take the vaccine here. They wanted us to give advice, should they take it or not. The one thing I'll tell you is COBA is not going to give medical advice to anybody. That's something you need to talk to your doctor about. If anybody has comorbidities or pre-existing conditions, there is no way I'm taking the responsibility of telling you whether or not to get a shot or not. Again, administrative time and leave, the federal program's expired, but the state remains the same. If you're experiencing COVID-related symptoms and you go out of work, you have to get a note from your doctor that says you have COVID-related symptoms, and then you're out on administrative leave without any charge to your personal time. Going back, we have preliminary talks with the county with the new consultant that is up and running to provide us a health plan that's non-contributory, especially for our members that are hired after 2014. I'm happy to say that Siegel Consulting has come into the county and they are fully operational and they know exactly what the deal is. There's no lag time with them doing it. I'm hopeful in the next couple of months, maybe a couple of weeks, we'll see what happens with contract negotiations, that we're going to have this committee up and running to make sure that we get a plan available for our members as soon as possible. Speaking of contract, we're having some issues. You know, we all know that the PBA turned down their contract. I think a lot of that has to do with miscommunication between the county, the PBA itself, and their members about how the message went out for the contract, about explaining exactly what it all meant. I'm hearing a lot that there's some buyer's remorse on the part of the members who voted it down. I know for a fact that the negotiator from NYFA is back sitting with the PBA again. We've had several talks. We've gone back and forth. We're having a little bit of an issue trying to understand the county and the negotiators' numbers, what their formulas mean and things like that. We've gone back and forth, numerous times. We know what's on the table, but we're hoping to have that cleared up soon. And we've actually brought in somebody that's an independent contract coster, which is going to help us out with a lot of these issues. There was an issue with contract consolidation language. We all know that our contract, the way it's written itself, is a disaster. We have an old contract and three MOAs, stipulations of agreement that you have to go back and forth with. There's a lot of things that are in there that are outdated. I was not going to sign off on a new consolidated contract unless they agreed with me that since we broke away from CSEA in 1999, that we reserve all our rights to if something should pop up that we wanted included into our contract. The previous county attorney that was handling this for the county was very reluctant to agree to anything like that. They hired a new county attorney, and he put together some language that I'm very happy about, and he gave us exactly what we're looking for. So now we have an agreement on that, and I'm hopeful in the next maybe 6 months or so we're going to have an actual completed, cohesive contract book that everybody can understand. I've talked about several times other people that are similar to jobs like this that are in worse shape than we are. Not that I want to say you think we're bad, look at them, but it kind of is that in a way. The court officers, they were supposed to be due a 2% raise in their contract last year. That was deferred because of all the problem that happened with COVID. Now the state is withholding that 2% from them. They've talked about furloughing court officers in New York State. There was talk for a while about potential layoffs. Thankfully, the layoffs is off the table because now they think the courts are going to start reopening again. But right now, since the whole COVID thing has been working, they've only been working at 20% capacity. Court officers only going to work 20% at a time, and that's not good. We can't allow that to go on. And we got to support our guys. They supported us a lot in the past, and we support everybody else that's similarly situated to us. Healthplex, in case anybody's been interested, Healthplex was bought out by United Healthcare. Healthplex, I forget the other name of the company, was taken over by somebody, and we were very concerned that that the dental care and the customer service was going to go out the window. They ended up laying off a bunch of people, but now United Healthcare is taking them over. There's been no changes. It's working out pretty well so far. If anybody has any issues, please reach out to us and let us know what your issues are, because we have a very good relationship with the people that run Healthplex. Obviously the dental plan here it leaves a lot to be desired, but the stuff that we can do, we're able to get done immediately. I got 2 quick things left, and then we're going to wrap it up for this month. I just want to give an update on the New York State Retirement Fund. The New York State Retirement Fund has reported for the 3rd straight quarter of growth, puts an estimated value of the New York State Pension Fund at $247 billion with a B. The New York State Retirement Fund's estimated value reflects benefits of $3.4 billion paid out during the last quarter. Its audited value as of fiscal year ending March 31st was March 31st, 2020 was $194 billion. The fund's estimated return in the 3rd quarter, even during COVID, was over 10% for the 3-month period ending December 31st, 2020. It ended the quarter with an estimated value of $24.7 billion, the 3rd straight quarter of substantial growth. So last year, it was March 31st, 2020, our pension fund was worth $194 billion. As of the end of the year, it was worth $247 billion. That's $43 billion increase, even paying the pensions every day. So that's something that we can be, very, very happy about and very proud about. We have a very good relationship. I've known Tom DiNapoli, the New York State Comptroller, for 20 years personally, and I'll tell you right now, there's nobody I would rather have in charge of our pension fund than him. He doesn't allow anybody to dip into it. We had the whole thing about fossil funds, divestitures, and all that. He was able to fight them off, which is good. Lastly, I just want to touch we had a thing that went out to our members about we're going to be having a World Trade Center 9/11 memorial built on the jail property in the circle in front of A building. We're going to have a 9/11 memorial tree put there through the Widows and Children's Fund. We're actually selling bricks now to be part of the Widows and Children's Fund. You can contact John Donahue, who's on the Widows and Children's Fund. He's the point man for that. You can contact anybody on the Widows and Children's Board to get a donation form for this, or you can go online to www.nassaucoba.com/widows-and-children's-fund, where you could buy a brick to have your name or whatever you want to do to donate on to that. I know this was a lot of information to digest. I was kind of all over the board, but this is stuff that I wanted to get from the general membership meeting. As I said before, next month in March, we'll try to consolidate and stick more to individual things that we can vet out a little more and beat the bushes a little more on certain topics and subjects. But I appreciate everybody listening to this. Again, the disaster the other night, I apologize to families or kids that may have been exposed to that. We're going to get that all vetted out. That's it for this edition of Nassau COBA Monthly, February 2021 edition. Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Have a good month, everybody.
And we'll see everybody next month. Stay
Be safe.
safe. Take care.